It's morning time, and I am 2 days removed from competing with the Proving Grounds, and I'm going to be narrating you guys through how I think I did and some mistakes that I made and how those possibly apply to real world situations, which is why I compete in things like the Proving Grounds in the tactical games. So here we go. So this is the first stage that we did. It was technically stage 2. The position that I'm taking here is actually a little bit more wobbly than I expected, myself to take. I think my head was just on getting hits. But even with that in mind, I'm honestly actually using my top dot here. I'm running a Razor with a Hollow Sun 508T on top of it. So rather than top dotting this, I probably should have run the Razor. The distances there are out to about 100, but I was still able to get some hits. I chose to retain my mag here, which I think is kind of important. There were a lot of folks that were running out of ammo on different stages. Either they weren't bringing enough mags, or they were dropping mags or leaving mags behind. Then we moved to pistol shots here. I would say this is about 15 yards or so. Needed to put 2 on each of the red targets in front of me. I had a really weird kind of shot order that I decided to take here. I'm not sure why. I just kind of was sending it. Something that I was talking to a buddy of mine about is how much mentally gets kind of separated when you're under the pressure of the clock. Take note of the sling here. I chose to sling my rifle, but I didn't cinch my sling down. I'm gonna have a problem with that here in a second. It's gonna be hanging around my ass. End up losing some time here trying to fix that. I don't have any script for this stuff. I'm literally watching it, and I'll end up overlaying it with the footage. So I'm trying to take a second to fix my sling, but each of those little things is just costing me precious milliseconds. I'm about to run into my first issue of not really paying attention to the stage brief, which is a lesson learned. I'll pretty much bang these shots out, though. So what I didn't realize is that there was one more target further off to the right. It was kind of separated from the others out in the bush. That costed me, I don't know, I've got a timer up there and I wasn't paying attention to it, but it cost me a few seconds. So same targets, you'll see some of them at the distance here. I would say those are no more than 50 yards. It's not a difficult shot, but you start to add the small amounts of duress from the physical aspect, and simple shots that you can hit just about every day become a little bit more difficult. So here we've got about 150, 200 meter sprint or run. I kind of chose to jog this. One of the mistakes I made last year was kind of burning myself out and not hitting any of my shots. The big improvement for me this year is I did not take a single miss penalty. I ended up hitting every target that I was supposed to. This truck cab sucked pretty hard. It's a height that was so low you really had to get small in the back of it. Another instance of me not really knowing the stage very well. So I originally sighted in on the silver car that you can see between the bus and you can see it there. But once I got onto target, I was able to ring steel. The furthest that we're shooting is very small. Is very small on your screen, but they're relatively large targets, out at somewhere between 350 and 400. It took me a couple shots to get on the second one, though. But again, in the Proving Grounds, different than the tactical games, I am able to use as many rounds as I'd like to get a hit. Now, that's one of the strategies, is if you get into a slump of misses, you could end up spending a whole lot of time on one target. I realized that I needed to make up a little bit of time here, so I absolutely just kind of took off. Now I have to move fat ass Randy back to his school bus, which I'm pretty sure he's barred from being within 100 meters of, or 100 feet of. But I chose to just grab him by the feet.
Good. Top plate.
So Randy, for those that aren't familiar with Rescue Randy, he's about 200 pounds. There's some weight there. Some people chose to pick him up entirely off the ground. I'm just going to use his clothes. Last shot to stop the clock is just going to be a single hit on this tree. Miss the first. Bang the second.
Feet off the ground, please.
So this one was a really cool one. For those that, that deployed overseas, the scenario itself might feel a little familiar to you, having to jump out of your rack and put your gear on. I'm going to make a safety mistake here. It's not going to cost me any time, and they didn't have any issue with it. But in the process of donning all of my gear and thinking about the upcoming, stage, I'm going to choose not to put my glasses on here. Not on purpose, just, one of those things that I didn't really realize until later on in the stage. But they called this thing our baby. I would say it's between 50 and 60 pounds. It's not too heavy. I threw it over my shoulder, or on my shoulders, and I tried to actually get it on there as even as possible, because I had this idea of possibly leaving it on there for the pistol shots, which does end up working out pretty well. Now you can see I still don't have my glasses on. I'm going to engage. Pistol here, I'd say at the furthest distance is 50. I think it'll take me 2 shots to get on this. Nope, I banged it off first shot. One of these, it takes me a couple rounds to get on at 50. Again, you add the stressors of the additional weight. The clock. To be honest with you, the clock adds, more stress than you'd think it would.
Clear. Perfect. Clear. Yep.
Something to note there is if I was doing anything where I had to go upside down, which we'll see in a little bit, I didn't, pull the strap back over my handgun there. So changing levels, this is going to be pistol again, if I'm not mistaken. Still keeping that quote baby on my shoulders. It's really not making it too difficult to shoot here. Still hitting what I need to hit. Alright, so this is going to transition to rifle. This is the Proving Grounds photographer. He chose to just stand in the way, so I told him you might want to move. And the deal with that is we needed to move the baby from this position to the next position. And it didn't matter if we, kept him here or threw him. So I threw him. Once again, not knowing the stage, I skipped over the 100-meter plate and started engaging the gong here. I hit it on the first shot, and I wondered why he didn't call it. I'm not one of those guys, though, so I re-engaged. So now he's got me back on the 100-meter gong. I'm going to bang that out first try, and then I'll end up banging out the previous gong, which is about 200. The furthest distance that we're shooting here is 300 out to that bus. Now, you could choose any firing position you wanted, and I chose to go prone here. Some people shot from the rail. Prone was just as fast for me. That little bit of time of you missing a few here and there from the rail gets made up in the speed that you're going to hit from the prone. So these shots are on the silver car that I talked about on the last stage.
Good. Grab your baby. Take it back to the beginning. I'll get your
And on the bus. So I'm going to pick this stupid baby up.
I'll do it the other way. Straight.
Didn't know which way to go.
Down the stairs?
Yeah, down the stairs.
Missile is essentially end the stage once I get down. Toss the baby back into the Connex.
All the way down?
All the way down.
These stairs are really
Put the baby
narrow.
back in the Connex and go to the last pistol shot.
And I could have been moving a little bit faster than I am here. It's those small seconds that are going to matter. Now what's going to happen here is I'm going to choose the mag that I'd been firing out of the whole time, which is only going to give me a couple rounds. You know, I'm tired at this point.
Hit! 267, 73.
Didn't really think which mag I was grabbing.
Let me see your gun. Clear it for me. All right, perfect.
And that closes out that stage.
Stand by.
This is one of the suckiest in a world where firefighters are also gunfighters. That's the scenario we've got here. I've got to pick this, you know, I don't remember what it's called. But I got to pick this thing up, put it on my back, and then we're going to John Wick a bunch of cardboard targets here. It didn't matter how close you got. You just had to put 2 on it and not hit the hostage, which was the white. Any hits in the white here would have been a 10-second penalty. I take my time on that one, on those headshots. Most of these I'm actually just point firing. On a couple, you'll see me two-handing it. I'm kind of just banging them out. Camera's a little shaky. It's not on a gimbal. It's on something a little bit more sturdy because it's gonna get, the camera got beat around a little bit while we were out there. You have to put it on the quote firefighter here. And if it falls off of the firefighter, then you're going to end up incurring a 60-second penalty. So I take the extra time to make sure that it stays on the firefighter. Now, if you'd like to watch this without my narrative, I'll have 2 versions of this video uploaded. You know, one that's just going to be the clean audio. And, of course, this one, where I'm trying to talk you through some things. I'm really pacing myself on the run up here because I know that I'm going to be engaging out to 400. And believe it or not, you know, once you start seeing, I will be missing a bit at 300. It's just a combination of being tired and my holds that I'm using. I do know which subtension I should be using, but you know, again, you're pretty gassed by the time you get up here. I'll drop down and engage at 100, bang that out really quick. It'll take me 2 rounds or so to get onto 300. Now it's going to be kneeling. A lot of people tried to stand and use the post. You had to use the post here, but I'm going to lean into it as hard as I can. But I'm still less stable than I'll have to get into here in a minute. So this is me kind of pausing for a second, what I call resetting. So I'm not hitting, and I'm starting to get frustrated with myself, so I started banging even more. What I chose to do is just stop for a second. Mentally and physically reset, sit down a little bit more in my kneel. Then I get to engage down here at 400. I'm gonna shut up for this because there are gonna be a couple hits here that you'll hear that weren't called, but again, I'm not that guy, so I'm just gonna re-engage. So there's a little bit of confusion here. The elite class, I changed my class at the last minute to compete against a buddy, but the elite class would have had to fire against the 200-meter targets or 10 more 200-meter target hits. Now you can see how fast I'm taking off. I am absolutely moving. This is just about all the energy that I have. Because I know that I took up a little bit too much time on the 400s there. I had spent the whole day prior banging out the 200s and even ringing steel at 600 with this rifle the day before. Again, I think it's just a combination of being tired, maybe having a little bit of, you know, some breathing challenges there on my, you know, holding at the 400 meter subtension. So I got to pick that stupid tank back up. And this mistake that you're about to see is what's going to cost me being in the top, or placing in the top 5. The night before the competition, I realized that I only brought 3 magazines for my P320 Daniel Horner, which is a competition-oriented P320. So I bought one. I bought a 320 mag. This is my first SIG. The problem I'm going to have is it's not going to seat here. And I only took 2 mags for my pistol on this lane.
Count that your base pads get caught on your funnel.
Drop 1 round in it.
Here, use this. Use this.
Drop a round.
He's
in
trying to
the
hand me a
pull
Glock
out,
mag
that's it.
right there, and I, you know, was still of sound mind enough to realize that I couldn't use it. So I'm dropping around in the chamber here.
There you go. One good shot. One good shot. There you go.
And had I not hit that shot, I would have taken a time cap penalty and a miss penalty, which would have been an additional 70 seconds.
Sorry.
But that 30 seconds worth of time kept me out of a higher placement. This is one of my favorite stages. I kind of burn this up. Super easy stage. You got to use the rock for cover, or excuse me, for your, well, I guess it is cover, but for your position, you have to shoot off the rock. So I'm going to bang out these 100-meter targets really quick. It's a little bit of a strongman style as far as the physical aspect. Speed and target transition is something that I'll work on, you know, for improvement for the next one. I would say that ball is somewhere between 70 and 90 pounds. I'm not sure. Now, this is something. The original guidance they gave us was to drop the ball at the red. But for some reason, he told me I needed to carry it all the way through, which is fine. You know, whatever. My buddy that ran this after me got to drop his ball at the red. I'll eat the additional, you know, second or so that caused. Banging out the hundreds again. You can take as many rounds as you need to hit the targets, which, like I said, is in and of itself a strategy. You know, if you spend too much time trying to hit one that you can't get on target for, that can end up eating up a lot of time, and sometimes it's better to take the miss. Now, I fortunately was able to hit all targets that I needed to and didn't have to take any miss penalties. A missed rifle shot would have been 30 seconds added to my time, which would have kicked me even further down the ladder. Now here I'm going to have to run the plate rack. I might have only had 100 rounds, maybe 200 through this pistol before competing with it. So I'm hitting a little lower than I'm expecting to on pretty much each of these targets. You see my first shot, I'll have to adjust and follow up. But each of the larger plates, less of a challenge. That ball is probably somewhere between, I don't know, 50 and 60. Well, that half ball there. The ball gets progressively smaller. Just like if you were to jump in cold water. Banging out the hundreds again. Go through a reload here. Luckily, they're allowing us to stay weapon hot, you know, weapon on safe, moving between each of the stages. Alright, so 1 round on the silhouette, and then I need to run the tree, which I more or less was able to get after here. 1 hit on the tree, just didn't move the plate, but you could see me call it for him there, and he agreed. I didn't have to run the Texas Star since I changed from Elite to Intermediate. I've actually never shot a Texas Star, and I'd be super interested to try that. And then these are the last rifle targets that I'll need to bang out. I'm pretty sure I hit these clean. But I'm starting to breathe pretty heavy at this point. And that's one of my... That one was one of the easier ones of the day, and I probably could have pushed it a little bit more, moving to and from each of the stages. This is the last stage of the day. There's an issue with the camera that I'll talk about here in a second. This is just me kind of getting ready. You know, mentally, I end up going first on this one. The Proving Grounds attached a photographer to me for this, so some of those photos and whatnot will come out later on. But because this is the last stage of the day, he asked for me to roll first. I'm leading our squad on this stage. So the camera operator accidentally turned it off, but then turned it back on right after the bell started, or right after the buzzer started. So these targets are at 100. We're gonna have to start with both knees on the ground, which is, you know, mandating that is interesting because it's I think it's more stable than having one knee up, and don't hate shooting from that position at all. So I pretty much banged those out. Now this is offhand, and I'm using my top dot to engage here rather than using the razor. The top dot, you know, was right on target there. I was actually surprised that I was hitting them as well as I was out at 100. Kind of burned that up. But here comes the challenging part to this stage, which is going to be the obstacle course. I'm gonna have an equipment malfunction here in a minute. So the first part is these logs, and my buddy and I didn't walk these logs ahead of time. They look bigger than they are. They're actually very, very thin logs. And luckily for intermediate, we don't take any penalties for falling. You don't have to start over. You just have to get back on where you came off. Now that photographer is in the way again. I told him, get out of the way because I'm coming straight through that thing. I kind of just parkoured my way through it. I went through under the barbed wire the wrong way. You were supposed to go from near side to far side. I went over the barrier on the right. You can start to see that equipment malfunction, which is, you know, on these cry pants, if the Velcro comes undone. On the knee pads, you know, that flappy thing there is my right knee pad is no longer with me. The net was, it took me longer to get over the net than I expected to. You know, in my brain right here, I'm actually wondering, should I just roll off of this thing? But all I could think of in an immediate disqualification would be is if my, you know, pistol falls out of my holster. you know, that immediately, actually it wouldn't, excuse me. It wouldn't disqualify me, it would just be an ass pain and embarrassing. So the rope bridge is pretty easy. I'm moving pretty well. I'm going to miss a handhold here, and that makes me kind of just pause for a second, slow down, gather yourself, and then get after it. There are little orange marks where you need to, you know, get your hands to close it out. So it's going to start with prone against these, you know, playing card targets on the right here, which are trickier than might sound, because you look at the clover or the spade, and you know, holding center on those because of the shape of them is, you know, there are those little cutout corners that the smallest imperfection and trigger squeeze will just expose. And that's going to be exacerbated a little bit when I get to the standing. Keeping in mind that I only have, you know, at this point, the rounds that I've shot here, you know, plus maybe 200 total out of this gun in its lifetime. It's brand new, both gun and manufacturer. I've never had a SIG before.
Again? Yep.
Stoppage there. I don't know if it was a light strike or a feed issue. Didn't stop to pay attention. Move into kneeling.
He's intermediate, eh?
Quick reload there.
Heart.
And that's it.
Good job.
And that'll summarize my time, and I am blasted at this point.
Did you just hit me with an A?
Yeah, I'm from Canada, eh?
For real?
Nice. There you go.
For real?
You're your first legit Canadian, eh?
It sounded amazing. I was like, oh,
My dick's hard. I gotta sit down.
here. Good job, because I fucked up and I said right to left and you followed suit, so I just let you shoot it. So
Just did what I was told, sir.
yeah, good job. That was a good time, dude.
Good job, but what's your time?
281.
I did not realize I left that dude hanging.
I'm sorry.
How you feeling? You're
Man.
done.
Great.
I need my. You shooting a SIG, guy?
Huh?
You shooting a SIG?
I am. Yeah.
Well, let me show you this.
Ain't blown up on me yet.
I left this part in here because it's kind of like a, you know, two dudes showing each other your well, you know. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, you know, the narration. Again, if you want to watch this not narrated, then there'll be two versions of this upload. One that's just clean, but I wanted to do one and talk you through some of the decision making, some of the challenges that I ran into. I'm also going to have, you know, some sub videos to this that kind of examine each of these issues in a little bit more depth. Thanks very much. You know, we'll see you guys next time. Please do hit the like button on the video. It does help very much. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.